That is such a great learning experience because they do everything. They do the directing and the camera switching and the cameras, and they do it all. So good on them. Those are the kids from Tumpain Public School. All right. The author of The Boy Who Can, the Jacob Trossman story, is here. It's Marcy White, and she's not just the author of this incredible story. She's the mom of this incredible child. It's good to have you here today.
I'm glad to be here. Thank you.
I'm sure people have said, oh, but it's, under different circumstances, wouldn't it be nice? I'd like to hear your take on that comment. That's probably not how you feel.
What do you mean under?
Well, I wish I didn't have to write a story like this, sort of thing. Mm-hmm. But you've probably learned so much from your son over the years, right? You wouldn't have it any other way.
Well, Jacob has really taught me a lot, and he's taught a lot of people around him a lot. I think one of the big things is that if he could find a reason to smile, then there's no reason why the rest of us can't. He's taught me patience and not to take the little things for granted. We waited almost a year for him to smile, and he learned to say yes and no by nodding his head and opening his mouth when he was 4 years old.
Wow.
But the best thing I think that made it all worth it was the very first time he spoke. He used a specially adapted iPod with a switch to use a communication device. And with that device, the very, very first thing he said was, "I want a great big hug." And he was 8 years old.
Jacob was born with Pelizaeus-Merzbacher disease, is that right?
It is.
Or PMD. What is that?
PMD is a genetic neurological disorder that gets worse over time. And I think the best way, I guess the easiest comparable is in 1990 there was a movie called Lorenzo's Oil with Susan Sarandon and Nick Nolte. And the child in the movie had a disease that was very similar to PMD.
And the parents in that movie, said, we're not going to take this doctor's diagnosis as our end result, and we're going to work to find a cure. And they were able to make tremendous progress through dietary changes and other things like that. So it must have been such a shock when Jacob was born to feel like, oh, how am I going to deal with this? When did that switch over to determination for you?
Well, I can't say there was an aha moment where I said, oh, okay, now I'm going to take what we have and we're going to run with it. It came as a complete shock. I had a wonderfully uneventful pregnancy, and the second Jacob was born, we knew there was trouble. He had trouble breathing, and I remember one of the people in the room, one of the medical professionals, saying, I've never seen this before.
Oh.
So right away, you know that's not
comforting.
good. And he spent the first 10 months in the hospital. Sorry, the first 3 months in the hospital, and we didn't get a diagnosis until he was 10 months old. So it was a very gradual process of having to, basically it felt like we were being hit by something over and over and over again as each symptom was identified. And the doctors were telling us, you might never know what's going on with him, you might never know what the cause is. And we just said, this is unacceptable. We have to figure out what it is because we have to find a way to be able to help him.
And he still couldn't breathe well, and he had to have a feeding tube, is that right? There's something about his vocal cords. If he were to try and eat, then he would actually breathe that food in, is that right?
That's correct. His vocal cords are paralyzed. So from the time he was about 2 days old, he's been fed with a tube that puts food directly into his stomach. So he's unable to swallow.
But clearly, there is an intelligent boy in that body, and you figured out a way to get him to express himself and to show his wonderful personality. What therapy are you using?
There's no real therapy. I mean, when he was younger, we did intensive therapy of all kind. He had physiotherapy, occupational therapy, music therapy, speech therapy. It was endless. But over time, we saw that, wait a second, his body isn't working the way our bodies or the way a typical body would work, but his mind is sharp, and he really gets it. And so gradually we shifted from the intensive therapies to just, this is who he is. Let's keep him comfortable and make sure we can manage his symptoms. But he's, in a regular school, he's with regular kids, and he's got the most incredible sense of humor.
And he can do so much. Tell me about some of the things that he's able to do.
Well, I think there's very little that he can't do. For example, he swims. He can swim about 200 meters with a specially designed neck ring because he has movement in the water that he doesn't have on land. He's gone skiing up at Horseshoe, and I think the best part to him about skiing is actually being up on the chairlift.
Look, he looks so happy. Oh my goodness.
A few months ago, we got him a skilled companion dog, which you just saw. That's Felix. And Jacob loves Felix. It's another friend for him.
And those dogs are so wonderfully trained. They are able to make the difference. Probably what's helping make school possible and all of those things, right?
Well, the amazing thing with Jacob, too, is about a year ago, he was terrified of dogs. You know, if we were out for a walk and he would see a dog, we'd have to cross the street. So this has just helped him get over his fear, and Felix will lie on the mattress with him and cuddle with him and let Jacob, you know, have his arm around him. It's just the most incredible thing to see.
What do you want us to get out of this experience?
I think if people could understand what it's like to have a child with a disability and to know that it's okay to come up and talk to them. It's okay to come up and talk to us. PMD is not contagious, but his sense of humor and his laughter is.
Oh, beautifully put. If you want more information to read this incredible story, theboywhocan.com is where you go. You can also go to curepmd.com and get more information on PMD. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
When we come back, fashions from Naiad Swim Gym. Give Jacob a big hug from me.